Staff Sergeant Maria Valdez pressed herself against the rocky outcrop, sweat mixing with the red dust of Kepler 442b as plasma bolts sizzled overhead. The alien fortress loomed before her squad like a metallic mountain, its crystalline shields shimmering with an otherworldly blue glow that had already swallowed 3 full magazines from her rifle without showing so much as a scratch. "Sarge, we're wasting ammo," Private Chun whispered from behind a boulder to her left. "Those shields aren't even flickering." Maria studied the fortress through her scope. The Zephyrian stronghold had appeared overnight, materializing from some kind of cloaking technology that still baffled human scientists. Its smooth, curved walls seemed to pulse with energy, and the shield dome that surrounded it cast everything beneath in an eerie blue light. "Fire as much as you like." "It won't fall," came a voice through the squad's communication system. The translation software rendered the alien words in perfect English, though the underlying hiss and click of the Zephyrian language remained audible beneath. "Your primitive kinetic weapons are useless against our quantum shield matrix." Maria's jaw tightened. She'd been fighting aliens for 3 years, ever since humanity had made contact with the galactic community and discovered that most species viewed humans as barely evolved apes with guns. The Zephyrians were particularly condescending, believing their advanced technology made them superior to what they called the crude mammals of falthe. "Unknown alien vessel. This is Staff Sergeant Valdez, Terra Marine Corps. You are in violation of the New Geneva Accords by establishing a military installation on a protected colony. World. Surrender now," and laughter echoed through the CUM system, a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. "Sergeant Valdez, your reputation precedes you. The Butcher of Proxima Station, they call you in the Outer Rim. But here you face true power, not the raiders and pirates you are accustomed to defeating." The voice belonged to war singer Kethmore, according to the intel briefing. A Zephyrian military genius who had never lost a battle, commanding technology that could reduce a city to atoms with a thought. His forces had taken the human agricultural colony on Kepler 442b without firing a shot, simply appearing and declaring the world property of the Zephyrian hegemony. Maria slapped a fresh magazine into her rifle with practiced efficiency, the metallic click echoing off the rocks. June Rodriguez, Okafor maintained suppressing fire. "Liu, Parker, circle left and look for weak points in that shield." "Sarge, you heard what the alien said?" Rodriguez called out from behind his position. Our weapons can't penetrate their shields," Maria finished. "That's what they want us to believe. But I've learned something about aliens over the past few years, Marines. They think too much and feel too little. They calculate probabilities and minimize risks. They don't understand the human concept of impossible." She raised her rifle and fired a controlled burst at the shield dome. The bullet struck the energy barrier and simply vanished, converted to harmless light. But Maria wasn't looking at where her bullets hit, she was watching the shield generators. "Fascinating," Kethmore's voice crackled through the CUM. "Even faced with absolute proof of your weapon's uselessness, you continue this futile display. Is this what humans call hope, or merely stupidity?" "Neither," Maria replied, ejecting her spent magazine and slapping in another. "It's called reconnaissance by fire. You see, Warsinger, your quantum shields are impressive. They convert kinetic energy to photons, rendering projectile weapons useless. But every energy system has limits." She fired again, this time at a different section of the dome. The shield flickered almost imperceptibly before stabilizing. "Did you see that?" Chun's voice carried a note of excitement. "I saw it," Maria confirmed. "The shield draws power from somewhere. And if it draws power, it has a maximum load capacity." Private Liu's voice crackled through the CUM from this flanking position. "Sarge, I've got eyes on what looks like a power coupling. 3 o'clock from your position, about 2 clicks. Looks like some kind of energy conduit running from the main structure to an external generator." Maria smiled grimly. "Outstanding, Liu. Marines, I want continuous fire on that shield. Not aimed shots suppressing fire. Empty your magazines as fast as you can reload." "Sarge, that's crazy," Rodriguez protested. We'll burn through all our ammo in minutes. Exactly. Chun Rodriguez Okafor, find your rhythm. Fire, reload, fire, reload. I want a constant stream of bullets hitting that shield. Liu, Parker, keep eyes on those generators and report any changes. The squad opened fire with everything they had. The sound was deafening. 4 assault rifles firing on full automatic, brass casings raining down like metallic hail. The shield dome lit up like a Christmas tree as thousands of rounds struck the barrier and were converted to light. This is madness, Kethmar's voice carried a note of confusion. You accomplish nothing but wasting ammunition? Our bullets can't penetrate your shield. Maria agreed, dropping her empty magazine and slamming home a fresh one without missing a beat. But energy systems follow the laws of physics, Warsinger. Even alien physics. And the first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only converted from one form to another. She continued firing, her rifle growing hot in her hands. Around her, her Marines maintained their rapid fire, magazines flying as they reloaded with mechanical precision. The shield was now blazing with constant light as it converted the kinetic energy of their bullets into photons. Every bullet we fire at your shield forces it to work, Maria continued over the sound of gunfire. Every joule of kinetic energy becomes heat, light, electromagnetic radiation. And that takes power that has to come from somewhere. Parker's voice cut through the chaos. Sarge, I'm seeing fluctuations in the power coupling. It's starting to glow. Outstanding. Increase rate of fire. I want those weapons cycling as fast as you can pull the triggers. The intensity of fire increased. Maria could see her Marines' faces, grim and determined, sweat streaming down their cheeks as they worked their weapons like machines. Empty magazines piled up around their positions. This is impossible, Kethmar's voice now carried a note of concern. Your primitive weapons cannot affect our quantum matrix. The mathematics are absolute. Your mathematics don't account for human stubbornness. Maria replied, her rifle barrel now so hot it was starting to smoke. Liu, status on those generators? Power coupling is overheating, Sarge. I can see thermal blooms through my scope. Whatever they're using for cooling isn't keeping up. Maria smiled as she slapped in what had to be her 20th magazine. That's the thing about humans, Warsinger. We don't know when to quit. While you were calculating the minimum force necessary to maintain your shields, we were calculating the maximum force we could deliver. And the beautiful thing about sustained automatic weapons fire is that it's cumulative. The shield dome was now so bright it was difficult to look at directly. The constant conversion of kinetic energy to light was producing a spectacular display, like a continuous fireworks show. But more importantly, the thermal readings Liu was calling out indicated the power systems were being pushed beyond their design limits. Thermal runaway in the primary coupling, Liu reported. Temperature is climbing past critical. All Marines prepare for shield failure. When that dome goes down, we advance on my command. Fixed bayonets. The Marines attached their bayonets while maintaining fire, the old steel blades clicking into place with mechanical precision. It was an anachronism in an age of plasma weapons and quantum shields, but Maria believed in redundancy. This cannot be happening. Kethmar's voice was beginning to sound strained. Our shields have withstood bombardment from plasma cannons, particle beams, antimatter warheads, but never sustained small arms fire, Maria interrupted. Because no species is crazy enough to try it. No species except humans. You see, Warsinger, we're not very good at calculating odds. We're much better at shooting until the target stops moving. The power coupling Liu was watching suddenly erupted in a shower of sparks. The shield dome flickered, wavered, and then collapsed entirely. Impossible, Kethmar whispered. Maria stood up from cover, her smoking rifle held at the ready. Marines, advance by bounds. Take that fortress. As her squad moved forward, she keyed her come to the general frequency. This is Staff Sergeant Valdez to all Terra forces. The alien shields can be defeated through sustained automatic weapons fire. I repeat, continuous suppressing fire will overload their power systems. Pass it on. The fortress loomed ahead, no longer protected by its seemingly invincible barrier. And somewhere inside, Warsinger Kethmer was learning his first lesson about human warfare. Sometimes the most sophisticated defense could be defeated by the simplest solution. Applied with enough determination and ammunition, Maria smiled as she advanced toward the fortress walls. The aliens were about to discover that humans didn't need to understand quantum physics to defeat it. They just needed to be too stubborn to know when they were beaten. The real battle was just beginning. The Zephyrian fortress walls rose like metallic cliffs, their surface a mirror-smooth expanse of some unknown alloy that seemed to drink in the light from Kepler 442b's twin suns. Maria crouched behind a chunk of melted shield generator, studying the structure through her scope while her Marines took positions around the perimeter. No windows. No obvious entry points, Chun reported from his position. Just solid metal all the way up. There's got to be a way in, Rodriguez muttered. Aliens breathe, right? They need air circulation, waste disposal, something. Maria was about to respond when the ground beneath them began to vibrate. A section of the fortress wall, 50 meters to their left, simply vanished. No doors sliding open, no hatches lifting the metal, just wasn't there anymore. Molecular disintegration field, Liu whispered in awe. They dissolved their own wall. Through the opening stepped Warsinger Kethmer himself. Maria had seen Zephyrians in intel briefings, but seeing one in person was different. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his elongated limbs covered in biomechanical armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal. His head was crowned with a crystalline growth that pulsed with soft light, and his 4 eyes tracked independently as he surveyed the battlefield. Behind him came a squad of Zephyrian warriors, each carrying weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Their plasma rifles were works of art, graceful curves of metal and crystal that looked more like sculptures than instruments of war. Staff Sergeant Valdez. Kethmer's voice carried clearly across the distance without any equipment. I congratulate you on your crude but effective tactic. However, you have merely delayed the inevitable. Your projectile weapons may have overwhelmed our shields through brute force, but they will prove useless against Zephyrian battle armor. To demonstrate his point, Kethmer gestured to one of his warriors who stepped forward and spread his arms wide, presenting himself as a target. Fire at will, Sergeant. Observe the futility of your weapons against true military technology. Maria raised her rifle and put 3 rounds center mass into the Zephyrian's chest. The bullet struck the flowing armor and simply stopped, held suspended in a localized force field inches from the alien's body. After a moment, the spent rounds clattered harmlessly to the ground. Personal shield generators, Kethmer explained with what might have been alien amusement. Each warrior carries a miniature version of our fortress shields. Your kinetic weapons are obsolete, Sergeant. Surrender now, and I will grant your squad the honor of serving as laborers in our mining operations. Maria lowered her rifle and smiled. Warsinger, you just made the same mistake twice. Impossible. Our personal shields are powered by fusion cells with enough energy to run continuously under normal load conditions. Maria finished. But what happens when you overload them? She raised her rifle again, but this time she flipped the selector switch to full automatic. Marines, pick your targets. Concentrated fire, same technique as the fortress shields. Let's see how long those personal generators can handle sustained automatic weapons fire. The Marines opened fire as one, each selecting a different Zephyrian warrior. The aliens stood confidently as bullets struck their personal shields and were stopped cold. But Maria was watching the power indicators on their armor. Small crystalline nodes that pulsed with increasing frequency as the shields worked to deflect the incoming fire. Impossible, Kethmer repeated, but his voice now carried a note of uncertainty. Personal shields do not fail. They are rated for single shots or maybe short bursts, Maria said, continuing to pour rounds into her chosen target. But we're not firing single shots, Warsinger. We're firing at a rate of 800 rounds per minute. Each bullet forces your warrior's shield to work. Each deflection uses power. And those fusion cells? They can't recharge fast enough to keep up. The first shield failed after 30 seconds of sustained fire. The Zephyrian warrior looked down in shock as bullets began striking his armor directly, the impact staggering him backward. The armor itself held against the bullets, clearly designed to be tough even without the shields, but the alien was no longer invulnerable. Chun. Rodriguez switched to armor-piercing rounds, Maria ordered, dropping her magazine and loading specialized ammunition. Let's see how tough that armor really is. The armor-piercing rounds were a human innovation that most alien species found disturbingly primitive. A dense metal core surrounded by a penetrating tip designed to punch through hardened targets. Against energy shields they were useless, but against physical armor they were devastatingly effective. Chan's first AP round punched through his target's chest armor with a sound like breaking glass. The Zephyrian warrior stumbled, green fluid leaking from the hole in his armor. Retreat. Kethmer commanded, but it was too late. The Marines had found their rhythm, systematically overloading shields and then switching to armor-piercing rounds. The advanced Zephyrian warriors, who had conquered dozens of worlds with their superior technology, were being methodically destroyed by what they considered primitive weapons. How? Kethmer demanded as he backed toward the fortress entrance. Our armor, our shields, they are proof against all known weapons. Against all known alien weapons, Maria corrected, advancing with her squad in textbook formation. But you've never fought humans before, have you? You've never dealt with a species that solves technological problems by shooting at them until they break. She fired a burst at Kethmer's own shields, which held but flickered ominously under the assault. You see, Warsinger, you made a fundamental error in your calculations. You assume that because our weapons are primitive, we use them primitively. But humans have been refining the art of killing with projectile weapons for thousands of years. We know exactly how much lead it takes to solve any given problem. Liu called out from the right flank. Sarge, more aliens coming out of the fortress. Looks like a full squad, maybe more. Through the molecular opening in the wall, Maria could see additional Zephyrian warriors taking positions. These ones carried heavier weapons, what looked like crew-served energy cannons that could probably vaporize her entire squad with a single shot. Fall back to cover, Maria ordered. But she was already formulating a new plan. The aliens were making the same mistake again, assuming that superior firepower would win the day. As her Marines took cover behind the wrecked shield generators. Maria studied the new threat through her scope. The heavy weapons were impressive, but they required multiple operators and had what looked like significant charging times between shots. Chun, how many grenades do you have left? 4 frags, 2 smoke, Sarge. Rodriguez? 3 frags, 1 white phosphorus. Maria smiled. White phosphorus was another primitive human weapon that most alien species considered barbaric. It burned at over 800 degrees Celsius and was nearly impossible to extinguish. Perfect for creating chaos. Here's what we're going to do, she said, outlining her plan quickly. The aliens think in terms of calculated firepower and efficient targeting. They don't understand the concept of suppression through chaos. The plan was simple, brutal, and utterly human. Chun and Rodriguez would use their smoke grenades to obscure the aliens' line of sight, then follow up with fragmentation grenades to force them to take cover. While the aliens were dealing with the explosions, Liu and Parker would advance under cover of the smoke to get close enough for accurate rifle fire. Meanwhile, Maria and Okafor would provide covering fire to keep the heavy weapons teams from setting up effective shots. Remember, Maria told her squad, aliens think tactically. They calculate optimal positions, minimize risks, and try to achieve maximum efficiency. But chaos is the enemy of calculation. We're going to give them so many problems to solve at once that their beautiful tactical minds won't be able to keep up. The plan went into effect with military precision. Smoke grenades sailed through the air, detonating in gray clouds that obscured the battlefield. Fragmentation grenades followed, their explosions sending alien warriors diving for cover. The white phosphorus grenade created a pillar of fire that burned with brilliant intensity, forcing the Zephyrians to relocate their heavy weapons through the chaos. Maria's Marines moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing in the smoke, firing from unexpected angles and then moving before return fire could find them. The aliens' sophisticated targeting systems couldn't lock onto targets they couldn't see, and their tactical doctrine had no answer for enemies who refused to fight in predictable patterns. "This is madness," Kethmar's voice carried clearly over the sounds of battle. "Stand and fight with honor." "Honor is for species that can afford it," Maria replied, putting 3 rounds through the smoke toward the sound of his voice. "Humans fight to win." By the time the smoke cleared, half the Zephyrian force was down, and the survivors were retreating deeper into their fortress. The heavy weapons lay abandoned, their operators either dead or wounded. Maria stood in the midst of the carnage, reloading her rifle with practiced efficiency. Around her, her Marines checked their ammunition and prepared for the next phase of the assault. "War Singer," she called toward the fortress opening, "you wanted to see primitive human weapons in action. This is what we call combined arms tactics. We use every tool available to accomplish the mission, no matter how crude you th." The interior of the Zephyrian fortress was a maze of crystalline corridors that pulsed with soft blue light. Maria led her squad through passages that defied human engineering, walls that curved without joints, ceilings that somehow supported themselves without visible structural elements, floors that felt solid but seemed to ripple like water when she wasn't looking directly at them. "This place gives me the creeps," Chun muttered, his rifle sweeping nervously as they advanced. "It's like being inside a giant living thing." "Stay focused," Maria whispered. Architecture designed to disorient visitors. Classic psychological warfare. The corridor ahead branched into 3 directions, each passage identical to the others. No signs, no markings, no indication of which way led to the command center. But Maria had studied alien tactics long enough to understand their thinking. "Liu, Parker, take the left corridor. Chun, Rodriguez, take the right. Okafor, you're with me down the center. If you encounter resistance, fall back and regroup. Don't get drawn into extended engagements." The Marines split up, disappearing into the alien passages with practiced stealth. Maria and Okafor advanced down the central corridor, their boots making no sound on the strange, yielding floor. They hadn't gone 50 meters when Warsinger Kethmar's voice echoed from hidden speakers throughout the fortress. "Sergeant Valdez, you have proven more resourceful than anticipated. However, you now fight on my chosen ground, within a structure designed to amplify Zephyrian tactical advantages. Surrender now, and I will grant you a clean death." "Counter-offer," Maria replied, speaking to the air since she couldn't see any obvious microphones. "You surrender now, and I'll consider not adding your fortress to the list of alien installations I've reduced to rubble." Laughter echoed through the corridors, but it carried a forced quality. Confident words from a primitive who has merely delayed her inevitable defeat. "You cannot comprehend the forces at my disposal." As if to demonstrate his point, the corridor ahead suddenly filled with energy, a crackling wall of electricity that blocked their advance completely. The air itself became hostile, charged with enough power to kill a human instantly. "Energy barrier," Okafor observed. "No way through that?" Maria studied the barrier, watching the patterns of electrical discharge. Every energy system has a power source. Find the source, find the weakness. She traced the energy patterns back along the walls, looking for the source of the power. The crystalline structures that lined the corridor were beautiful, but they followed logical patterns that suggested function as well as form. "There," she pointed to a cluster of crystals that pulsed in rhythm with the energy barrier. "That's feeding power to the barrier." "Sarge, we can't get close enough to damage it," Okafor pointed out. "The field extends wall to wall." Maria smiled and unslung her rifle. "Who says we need to get close?" She aimed carefully at the crystal cluster and fired a single round. The bullet struck the crystal formation and shattered it like glass. The energy barrier flickered and died. "Sometimes the most advanced technology has the simplest vulnerabilities," Maria said as they advanced past the disabled barrier. "Aliens tend to over-engineer solutions to problems that don't exist. They continued deeper into the fortress, encountering increasingly sophisticated defenses. Laser grids that could slice a human in half were defeated by shooting out their emitters. Force fields that could stop a tank were bypassed by destroying their power crystals. Automated defense turrets that tracked movement with perfect precision were neutralized by fragmentation grenades that filled the air with too many targets to track effectively. Impossible. Kethmer's voice grew increasingly strained as his defenses fell one by one. Our fortress is impregnable. No force in the galaxy has ever, no alien force. Maria corrected as she blew apart another crystal power source with a well-placed shot. But human Marines are trained to adapt and overcome. We don't need to understand your technology to break it. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that took Maria's breath away. The command center was a work of art, crystalline spires that reached up to a domed ceiling that showed the stars beyond. Holographic displays that floated in the air without visible support, and in the center of it all, War Singer Kethmore himself, the alien commander, had shed his flowing armor for what appeared to be a command suit that integrated directly with the fortress's systems. Fiber optic cables ran from his crystalline crown to control nodes throughout the chamber, and his 4 eyes now glowed with the same blue light that powered the fortress. "At last," Kethmore said, his voice now coming from the alien himself rather than hidden speakers. "The famous Maria Valdez stands before me, the Butcher of Proxima Station. The woman who single-handedly destroyed 3 pirate fleets with nothing but human stubbornness and superior firepower." "I had help," Maria said modestly, raising her rifle. "Good Marines make all the difference." "Indeed. And now you face the ultimate test of your primitive tactics." "I am no longer merely Zephyrian. I am one with this fortress, linked to every system, every weapon, every defense. I have become the perfect military mind, enhanced by technology beyond your comprehension." To demonstrate his point, Kethmore gestured with one elongated arm. The walls of the command chamber came alive with weapons energy cannons, plasma projectors, particle beam arrays, all aimed directly at Maria and Okafor. "You cannot shoot what you cannot see," Kethmore continued. "You cannot overcome what you cannot understand. And you cannot defeat what is faster, stronger, and infinitely more intelligent than." Maria shot him. A single round from her rifle struck Kethmore center mass, punching through his command suit and sending him staggering backward. Green fluid leaked from the wound as he looked down in shock. "That's impossible," he whispered. "My reflexes are enhanced 1,000-fold. I should have been able to dodge." Maria shot him again. "Human reaction time is about 200 milliseconds, she explained conversationally as Kethmore fell to his knees. "Enhanced alien reaction time might be 20 milliseconds. But bullet travel time at this range is about 5 milliseconds. Math doesn't lie, Warsinger." Around them, the fortress's weapons powered down as Kethmore's connection to the control systems weakened. The beautiful holographic displays flickered and died. You cannot have. Our technology is supreme." Kethmore's voice was growing weak. "Your technology is impressive," Maria agreed, walking closer to the dying alien. "But you made the same mistake every alien species makes when they encounter humans. You assume that advanced technology automatically means superior tactics." She knelt beside Kethmore, her rifle still trained on him. "You see, Warsinger, humans have been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. We've refined the art of killing over thousands of years, through Stone Ages and Bronze Ages and Iron Ages. We learned to defeat superior enemies with inferior weapons because that's all we had." Kethmore's eyes were dimming, but he managed to focus on her face. How did you know where to shoot?" "Center of mass," Maria replied simply. "Doesn't matter what species you are, what technology you're wearing, or how enhanced your reflexes might be. Center of mass is always center of mass. It's the largest target, hardest to miss, and most likely to cause incapacitating damage." She stood up as Kethmore's life faded from his eyes. "You spent so much time becoming one with your technology that you forgot the most basic rule of warfare. The side that shoots first and shoots straight usually wins." Her cum unit crackled to life. "Sarge, This is Chun. We've secured our section of the fortress. Found what looks like a prison area, 23 human colonists, all alive. Outstanding. Rodriguez, report. Right section secure, Sarge. Found their armory. These aliens have some serious firepower, but it's all designed for their physiology. Triggers are too big for human hands. Maria smiled. Copy that. Liu, Parker? Command center is secure. Parker's voice came through clearly. Found their communication array. Looks like they were planning to call in reinforcements from the homeworld. Jam all outgoing communications, Maria ordered. We don't want any more uninvited guests. As her squad regrouped in the command center, Maria looked around at the alien technology they had defeated. Energy weapons that could level cities, shields that could stop antimatter, computers that could calculate 1,000,000 variables in microseconds, all of it useless against basic human military doctrine. You know what the real joke is? She said to Okafor as they secured the facility. The aliens could have won easily if they'd just used simple kinetic weapons. Bullets work on humans just fine. But they were so convinced that energy weapons were superior that they never considered the possibility that sometimes older is better. Her rifle was nearly empty now, down to her last few magazines after the sustained firefights. But the mission was complete. The fortress was secure, the colonists were safe, and the galaxy had learned another lesson about human warfare. She keyed her comm to the fleet frequency. This is Staff Sergeant Valdez to Terra Command. Kepler 442b is secure. Alien fortress captured, enemy commander eliminated, all hostages recovered. Requesting immediate reinforcement and colonial authority, transfer back to human administration. Outstanding work, Sergeant, came the reply from orbit. How many enemy casualties? Maria looked around the command center, then at the path of destruction they had cut.